Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining this event. My name's Andy Cotgreave. I'm Technical Evangelist at Tableau, co-author of the Big Book of Dashboards, and I'm just really excited to be talking to some incredible guests for the next 45 minutes about the intersection between art and technology, specifically how a business intelligence tool became an inspiration for a whole, many people and a medium for expression. So we've got two really good guests to talk about this and hopefully give you ideas and then give you ideas. So first of all, we've got Judit Bekker. Judit, good evening. Tell us who you are and where you are, and then we'll move on to you.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Judit Bekker, and I'm based in Hungary, Budapest, and I work for a consultation company called Starschema, and I'm a data visualization expert there. My main, I work with Tableau all day, and besides that, I'm doing UI and UX design kind of stuff.
Fantastic. And Neil. Hello, Neil. Neil Richards, say hi. Tell us where you are and who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neil. I'm in right in the middle of England, here in Derbyshire. I currently work at Groupon, where I'm sort of responsible for building an internal data community. But I do a lot of stuff with Tableau in my spare time, which I'm sure we'll talk to you about later. So I'm a Tableau Zen Master, which means I'm just sort of really keen to tell people all about great Tableau and what you can do with it. And you can also find me on the Data Viz Society as well as one of the directors. If you don't know about the Data Viz Society, then be sure to check that out too.
Yeah, and
that's me.
Yeah, and we're gonna share links to Neil and Judith's work and the Data Viz Society at the end. As we go through this webinar, please ask questions. The three of us could talk for about 16 hours on this topic. We have 45 minutes, but if you want to ask questions or give us your own insights, please do let us know what they are. We are going to talk about influences. Is data art? Then how do we go about using data as an expressive medium? Right. And then at the end, give some ideas for what you could do if you wanted to try this out yourself. So we'll start with influences and inspirations for this sort of data-related art, and we're going to show you some examples. But Neil, I thought, why don't you go first? Tell us, how did data analyst turn to data artist for you?
Well, I guess, I find I have all sorts of influences, and what I love about using Tableau is it was the first thing that I was able to use that meant I could actually start to create things. I could use this BI tool to do things which you might consider creative or artistic or something like that I just couldn't do in other ways. So I think your question was about influences. There we go. I don't consider myself an artist at all, but I am by trade many years ago a mathematician. So sometimes when I'm looking for influences, the simplest data sets can be the data sets of numbers, data sets of big long numerical sequences, data sets of geometry, data sets even of music or musical notes, which are essentially they're like sequences of numbers as well.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking for sort of things that I might want to recreate, or things that I think are a really good idea, something I see that I like that's geometric and artistic, that I wonder what it would be like to recreate that particular artistic thing or that particular pattern, or something that's inspired by it anyway with data. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's sort of 4 or 5 bits of answers there. All sorts of influences.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing maths a lot. This is a piece done by one of our friends, Ken Flurledge, taking a Riemann sequence, which if you Google it, it's a really, really interesting mathematical thing. But then I was showing some of the ones you've done, the decimal walks. And just tell us about what you were trying to do here, because I think this is one of my favorite pieces of your work. So what was happening here?
Yeah, I had a I had a lot of fun with this because the black decimal walk things that you just showed was the sort of final version of this, and this was me sort of creating every step to see if I could get the essentially the decimals and all these different numbers to do a random walk round in a pattern, and it worked and it looked quite cool, but it showed some really odd things like that one down at the bottom. I can't take my eyes off it. That started heading off the page. Now, you know, it made me investigate. It made me wonder. There's some amazing mathematical properties. It turns out I had my data wrong. I put a mistake in there, and that's why things are walking all the way off. So I was actually using a little bit of the Tableau iterative analysis tool that it's so great for, to just sort of try things out and to sort of fix problems in my data.
Yeah, and we'll talk about,
you know, once I got past that.
Yeah. We'll talk about the accidental inspirations as well in a moment. So yeah, I think go. You've got a QR code if you're watching this, and the links are here. You know, go check out this work by Neil. It's really interesting. Judith, what about you? How do you get inspired to kind of mash the two things together?
Yeah, I have a really different background. I'm not that strong in math. Originally, I'm a political scientist. But I've been working as a data analyst for ages. But I think my example is a good example for just to show that to be invested in data analysis, you don't have to be a mathematician. So I was working as a data analyst, and I couldn't imagine myself doing PPTs and Excel files until I became a pensioner. So I automatized all my work, and instead of working, I started to learn Tableau and SQL and stuff. So I know a little of everything. What was the biggest thing for me to start with in terms of data were infographics. And I'm really into trashy stuff. Like I started using Canva at first, and I visualized things like how much money Kevin spent in Home Alone 2, and really stuff like that, how many times on average we cry a week or a month, and why. And that's what I like to combine with Tableau. So sometimes the data I use, it's like 5 data points, nothing more, like this little Excel table. I just like to combine it with graphic elements, and I use basically everything as an inspiration. I have an open eye to the world that surrounds me. So it can be anything like graffitis, tattoos. I'm just cycling and see something interesting, anything.
And I noticed you're a big Pinterest pinner. I know on your Pinterest account you've got like, it's just so clear your inspirations are coming from fonts and, you know, very clear sort of movements in the graphic side of art. I think is that fair to say?
Yeah.
You like your fonts, don't you? I'm particularly for children,
yeah.
right?
I think I'm a Futura ambassador. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've both touched on something which I know, I know both of you quite well. And can either of you draw? Are you artists? Neil?
It's funny, we were having this conversation in the family. Whenever we play Pictionary or Drawful or games like that, I am so bad. I'm not even bad, I'm really bad. You know, my kids just don't understand. And that strangely means I've never considered myself artistic, but that's why I get so excited about what I can do when I pick up a BI tool. You know, I can't pick up a pen and draw a perfect circle. I would miss. I draw an oval that missed, or a triangle or something like that. But I can take data points and arrange them in a circle by using trigonometry and having enough dots to, close to each other that they make a circle. And then suddenly I can do something that I can't do in real life. So no, I absolutely can't draw. I mean, there's occasions, and it's good practice, we all do this, where you might sort of sketch what you want your dashboard to look like, or your visualization or your art. But goodness knows, if it ever looked like how I drew it, nobody would.
No, I find that amazing, and actually yeah, you know, we'll talk in a minute about even when you draw imperfectly in technology, it creates those wonderful accidents as well. What about you, Judit? Are you an artist? Can you draw?
Actually, it's a no. A lot of people think that I can. So I wrote a blog post about it, and I asked my mom to scan my childhood drawings to back this story up, and they are actually awful. My brother is a real talent, but to me, no. But actually, I found a nice way out of drawing. So you still draw, even if you cannot. And this is called flat design. Because with flat design, you can draw everything by putting together ellipses and rectangles and lines. And they become characters and objects. So yeah, that's a nice way out for those who don't have the eye to draw.
Yeah, I find your stories really interesting. There are so many people who, you know, you're not creative drummed into them at school, or they just get creativity sucked out of them through the school system. And then, you know, like me, I'm the same. I found creativity, again, really much later, again, through a business intelligence tool of all things. Crazy, isn't it? So I think you're both fantastic artists. So there you go. Right. If anybody's got comments or questions, again, you know, do you think what are your perspectives on that? Neil, I wanted to come to you about some of the methodology with the art you do, and maybe particularly we can look at a particular piece of work, but generally, how does it work for you when you're trying to create something?
Well, I coined this thing called design-driven data, which I didn't really coin. I got the idea from the wonderful Georgia Lupi, who, if you don't know Georgia, she's a partner in Pentagram and has done some amazing work, sorts of hand-drawn artistic data visualizations. She's done a lot with Stephanie Posivek too. But one of the things that she mentions in data humanism is how you can flip all the different concepts almost on their head. And one of those is, instead of data-driven design, which is, let's face it, what a data visualization is supposed to be, she coined the term design-driven data. And that's what I love to do. So often if I see a design, and we've got an example here, I think, oh, that might look like a really good data visualization.
Just tell people, sorry, what we're looking at here. So what is the original down? Yeah. So the original is down here. What is this?
So yeah, the original there, it was, yeah. But basically that's an album cover. And I was actually inspired by, I've got on my t-shirt now, joy plots and the sort of trend for that the other year. How basically people were taking an iconic album cover art design and sort of basing data visualization around that. So this is perhaps the favorite one of those that I tried. So I found that image. It was by a band called Lemon Jelly. I don't actually know the original album. And I just thought, now I want to recreate that, but I don't just want to go into Tableau and draw that. I wonder if I can come up with data that will populate that. And then if I can get data that populates that, it doesn't have to really look like the original, but it needs to be sort of inspired by the original. So sort of, yeah,
sorry,
I sort of processing first. Yeah, and I think, well, what could the circles be? What could the colors be? What could the length be? What could the difference be between the large and the small? And once you sort of think of, right, how many dimensions do I need? How many measures do I need? So, you know, how many numbers, how many things to sort of break them down by? I'm always looking at different data sets and wondering if I might be able to sort of play with them. And I found a data set of Oscar nominations, actors at the time, and it just seemed to fit perfectly. I thought, well, I could make you can sort of dive into it further, but I thought I can make the rings, the decades of their age. I can make the large circle, the number of nominations they've had for Best Actor or Best Actress. I can make the small circle the same for the supporting actor and actress, etc. And then I just thought, I've got enough. I can now use the data as the medium to create something, and to create something that's been led and inspired by this original piece of art, this album cover.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, I love the fact that you've taken an organic looking album cover and then made a data visualization about Oscar winners. I mean, this is literally, you know, I love the fact that they completely don't match, right? And therefore that I like that conflict. But I also, what you're describing there is how you turn the data set upside down, because almost everything, you know, the data viz competitions we run, all the data viz projects, it's like, well, here's a data set, make something beautiful with it. Whereas you're actually going, well, I'm not going to take your data set. I'm going to craft the data set to in such a way that I can explore a creative idea. Is that right?
That's right. And this is the wrong way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it in business. You shouldn't think, oh, that's a nice chart. I want something that looks like, you know, I want to make my data look like that chart. Mm-hmm. This is more the kind of way to approach a creative project. It just turns out the only thing I know how to use or use best is a BI tool, which means I'm sort of, yes, I'm doing the process backwards and then forwards again.
Yeah.
And this is what I was referring to. Yeah. Many of you may have seen this slide. It's from a TED talk by Georgia Luby. And this is sort of part of all the things that she thinks about when she's visualizing data. So thinking about the individual data, the human nature of it, and the data is imperfect, it's subjective, all these things. And so that's why a lot of what I do, I'm inspired to do things not aggregated up into totals, but seeing all the individual elements of data and then them in interesting ways.
Yeah, that's great.
Unconventional.
Now, Judy, your motivations are slightly different. So you know, this really, I love what Neil's doing. I mean, I love what you do too. So what's your inspiration and reason for getting involved in some of the projects you've done?
So there are a lot of people who can visualize basically everything. I'm not one of them. I can only visualize what I'm passionate about. Otherwise, it's like, it won't turn out great because I don't enjoy it. So for me, as I mentioned before, doing data visualization out of working hours is 100% mental masturbation. Like, I don't do it for the likes. So for example, that example you showed was about, I started to read Infinite Jest when this coronavirus hit, because there was a podcast about it in Hungary. And I liked it.
Can you actually, what is it for those who don't know? What is Infinite Jest?
Yeah, I think this is one of the greatest, I mean, in terms of volume for sure, works of American literature from the 20th century. It was written by David Foster Wallace, and it's about depression, drugs, the struggle of actually, I think it's my generation, I guess. So, yeah. So when I started doing,
what are you trying to say there, Judith, about me and Andy?
No, I was thinking about
carry on.
it was before, but no. So I think it's generation. What's my generation called? It's Y, the millennials.
Right. I've lost track of generations. Once you get to my age, they all just become young. So you read Infinite Jest, and anybody who hasn't read it, you can see it's really fat, and the print type, the words are tiny. It's tiny. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I read a lot. I'm a heavy reader, but this was the biggest thing I've read like ever, I guess. Mm-hmm. So this it had such an influence on me that I just couldn't switch my mind off. So I was like, hey, I just want to do a visualization about it. And I knew from the start that it wouldn't be a hit, because a lot of people don't know what's this about, what's this tennis court, but actually the most of the novel is set in a tennis academy. So I really put my heart into this, and actually it received under 10 likes on Tableau Public. Just to make a comparison, one of the afternoons I had the time and I just didn't know what to do. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna try a Venn diagram in Tableau. and I found a tutorial and made a Venn diagram in 40 minutes about my Tableau portfolio. I had a bubble saying that unnecessary data sets and another bubble saying Futura typeface, and the intersection was my Tableau portfolio, and it received 20 something likes. So yeah, I don't do it for it, but I don't know what people liked about this one. I mean, I was just trying some silly thing out, but I was really passionate about the other. So it's not always what people like, and you like a match.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, this one's, you know, if you haven't read Infinite Jest, it's probably harder to relate to, but you know, a lot more people like purple, and a lot more people like Futura. So you've hit a...
Yeah, but so I wouldn't do it for the likes. No. I read a Twitter comment like a couple of weeks back that hey, please help me explain why this didn't get enough likes, because I just put my heart into it. That would be wrong for me if I'd do it for this, because for me, the time it gets a burden, then I'm gonna just stop it. If it stops bringing me joy, then no use.
Fair enough. Now, somebody made a comment. Something you said in the first answer was talking about sometimes you have a data set that's this big, and they said it's like, oh, so interesting working with small data sets. I always thought you needed huge data sets to make something interesting, and that they think this is intimidating. What do you both think of that?
The company I work for had this slogan that says, "We play big data." Then I was like, I don't play big data. I play small data big time. So I made it mine. But yeah, a lot of my viz actually have less than 10 lines of data and 3 columns. So
yeah. What about you, Neil?
I partly agree. I find small data sets really difficult because I think it needs a design talent like Judit, but more than something I've got. But I also like my data sets not to be too big. I guess I almost like them medium sized, if that makes sense. I like to visualize individual elements in the data. Like some of these things. So whether that's in the tens or hundreds of elements of data, that kind of suits me. I find things with really small numbers of data, I think that needs a really different design skill, and you can see some amazing things with just 2, 3, 4, 5 elements of data, and I really applaud those that can do it. But I certainly don't think data needs to be big to see interesting insights or to see artistic stuff.
There's gosh, it's a long time since I've looked at this blog post, but there's a really, really good exercise. I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Right, there's a really good exercise that anybody can do for a little bit to be creative with data, is to take 2 numbers. Take the numbers 37 and 62, or 72. Well, it's 2 numbers, all right? 37 and 72. And then take a packet of Post-its and just say amongst the group of you, how many different ways can you represent these 2 quantities? Right now, so in data viz speak, I would say how many different chart types can you create with these 2 numbers? Line charts, bar charts, whatever. But you don't have to use the data viz language. You can just be like, express these 2 numbers. And now I've done this a bunch of times. I don't know if you 2 have done that exercise, but I remember, I'm just going to share Santiago Ortez, who I don't know what's happened to him. He was big in the field a while ago. He's got this. He used the numbers 75 and 37, and these are all different ways you can represent the numbers. And actually, there's another post where he's doing it with hand-drawn ways as well. And it's just great when you get this on a piece of paper or on Post-its. It's really amazing seeing how people do it. So I love small data sets. They really prove to me the creativity.
In many ways, I think exercises like that work better with people who aren't traditionally sort of data viz trained, if you like. People who are asked that question for the first time will not be confined by a bar chart or a pie chart, let's say. They will just say, let's draw this like this and let's draw that number like that. So you're actually probably going to come up with more creativity from people who aren't constrained by thinking, let's use the 6 main chart types that you might sort of find out of the box. So I would agree with that. That really, you get some interesting insights like that.
Yeah. I had another question. This is a bit of a right. Is data and data visualization helping you navigate some of the universal challenges we're facing? You know, look, 2020 has not quite been the year we wanted it to be, right? We've got pandemic, we've got wildfires in California. You know, there's just and across the US, there's problems. You know, in many places around the world. Has data helped you through the lockdown? Have you been finding outlets for anything you've done?
It's definitely a yes for me.
Yeah.
Like, I became invested in the Tableau community like a couple of months ago. I was doing a database for years now, but I remember running on the treadmill in March, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just register on Twitter and then start being active. And my first visualization became a hit because people like newbies very kindly. And I started to do more and more. And I was like, okay, I'm staying home. I don't have anything to do. I watched everything on Netflix. So let's do this.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think the three of us know that the Tableau community has just grown and grown in the last 10 years. You know, it's a really great place to be, or a great thing to be a part of. What about you, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can sort of approach it in two ways. Obviously, with all these things going on in the world, not just COVID, but you know, some of the social issues, a lot of people are turning to data to actually do really important stuff to visualize COVID data and things like that. And I've kind of gone the other way. I've stayed out of the sort of political. But if you love data and you love art and that's your sort of your hobby, then you can always find things. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I felt like I was just sort of drifting away and paying too much attention to COVID and getting too wound up about things, and I haven't done much personal stuff. So in May, I set myself a challenge to do to visualize one data set in 31 different ways, and I just picked my favorite album. Like you did, you picked your favorite book. I picked my favorite album. It wasn't a cool album. There was no reason to do it other than I thought, look, come on, let's get back into this. And if data's your thing, then it's what gets you through. You know, it was a really interesting exercise. And I think whether you're talking about things like that or not, you know, data helps. It helps you try and get better at running, or it helps you lose weight, or it helps you count how many different places you visited, or you know, it gives you motivation to do things in the lockdown if you know that you might be able to visualize it or see something in data, or if that kind of thing sort of interests you. You know, like the data you might see on your watch telling you whether you're moving or not.
Yeah, the uncool album Neil is referring to is 31 Days of well, it's Flood by They Might Be Giants, and many people
yes, correct.
Yeah, I know you think it's an awesome album, and it is an awesome album. So sorry, unfortunately they're all a bit too big to fit on the screen, so sorry you're not getting a great seeing experience. I can't remember which is my favorite, but
actually we are seeing your emails.
We can see your emails.
You're seeing my emails? That's embarrassing. There you go. You all got to see, well, hopefully you didn't get to see anything serious. Right, let's show some songs about flood. Right, so yeah, are you now seeing Neil's visualizations?
Yes.
All right, phew. I'll keep my job, hopefully. It was Flood by They Might Be Giants, and every day you came up with a different concept. It was amazing. I think that that personal aspect was really interesting. And I was watching one of the other events in the event, the grid event, and then the previous to this, and there the artists were saying how, you know, COVID, you know, changed the way they were creativity, but gave them a great channel to focus on. Adam Green said, data-driven escapism. I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's totally right, Adam. Actually, I want to ask you another question from Stephen Skinner. He said, you talked a little bit about drawing, and does sketching play a role in your creative process? Do you design your viz through sketching before working in Tableau, or not? I think you both have different answers. Do you?
Yeah, actually, I have these sketchbooks like all over the place. I have another here. So even I always sketch, and sometimes I bake from my dream, and then because I have an idea and I have a sketchbook beside the bed. And yeah, so I always do a rough sketch, and only after I start to work in Illustrator or Tableau, but I have the idea before that. And
Yeah.
that's the majority of the work.
And how about you, Neil?
I shouldn't say this, but I generally don't. Usually, particularly in a business point of view, encourage people to sketch what they're sort of trying to do. And maybe in that kind of scenario I would, but I suppose if I've got a design that I'm inspired by, that's kind of my initial sketch to start with. And what Tableau is very good at is doing things quickly. So if you've got an idea, you can do that kind of sketching or that kind of iterative process in Tableau. I think I'm doing a job for you here and sort of plugging how great Tableau is, but I think it's much easier to do in that particular tool than it is in many other sort of data visualization tools or media.
Yeah.
So I might have an idea. I might think, well, I'd like to do some kind of line chart that goes off in different directions. But rather than sketching it, I might do sort of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different worksheets until one of them actually seems to be doing what I want it to do, and then delete the first 11.
Yeah, I think this is totally one of those things which is like whichever floats your boat. There is a huge amount of power and creativity through the pencil. I mean, the pencil is surely one of the best things humans ever invented. But Tableau is happens to be this tool that is really great fun to be expressive. We actually have a hashtag called Tableau Broke and Made Art, where people are often trying. Now, are you seeing a Tableau visualization, a sort of fireworky thing? Have I got the right screen shared? Yeah, yeah, good. Where people are trying to explore with Tableau, and then the next thing you know, Tableau broke and made some art. And so I've put this hashtag search for this on Twitter, but you can find people are trying to build things, and then the next thing you know, you've got something like this, right? And maybe Bridget was trying to look at the spread of who knows what across who knows where, but you just have these moments where you think, oh, that's really interesting. So even blowfishes, right? So yeah, I think it's a great question about should you sketch? I don't know. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should try both. But yeah, looks like Nick. Sorry, I haven't got the name. Yeah, accidental art is sometimes the best inspiration. So absolutely. What else did we have to? Well, so I've gone off. These questions coming in are great, by the way. Do keep the questions coming in because we'd love to know exactly what it is you're thinking. Yeah. So actually, we had a couple about accidental. Where your intent started in one direction and then you ended up in another. Do you want to talk about the economic impact of women, Neil?
That's a very deep subject. I can talk about the business I did about.
Do you want to talk about the visualization you did about the economic impact of women? Yeah.
No, yeah, I would, and I wanted to make. This is more a sort of a serious viz, but it was kind of in my style, and I've said I like to sort of use geometries and disaggregate data a lot. So I had different kind of shapes and circles for each country. I pretty much knew what I wanted to do, and I was getting there. And I clicked the wrong button, or I dragged to the right instead of to the left or something. And so that's how it eventually ended up. But I think I had a version where the circles were all far too big and overlapped each other. And so in a way, you absolutely couldn't tell what it was about, but it was still data driven. And I took a screenshot, and I don't think I used the hashtag, but I said, wow, look at this. I did this by mistake. And people loved it. They said, I would buy that. Make a poster of it. Put it on your wall. I don't know if you have that image. And so I've gone to work and I've used it as my Zoom background. And you can, and people told me of other artists that it kind of reminded me of their abstract work. And, that absolutely wasn't what I tried to do, but I recognized that actually you can sometimes be only one misplaced click or one unticked box away from something that looks completely different.
Yeah.
But it's still data art. It's well, if you happen to think it is, and other people happen to agree with you, then you can by mistake come up with something which is started off in the direction that you would go, yeah, there we go.
This is the one,
I mean,
right?
You can't really see anything about the economic. Yeah, that's the one. And it doesn't really look that similar to what you just showed me, but you can. It's almost one of those optical illusions. If you stare at it for long enough, equals, which are accidentally produced far bigger than they needed to be.
Yeah.
And that just a lot of people thought, wow, that looks like a cool background.
It is really cool, actually. Yeah, I meant
yeah,
to find it before
fluke.
preparing for this, but seeing it again fresh, I'm like, yeah, it is. It draws me in. I want to keep looking at it. So Judit, I've got a question for you. Because you work in UX. So the question, somebody said, working in UX, they find that the discipline lines blur. Right? Do you think that the lines between design and art and technology and data have all kind of become very grey? Do you find that similar in our field?
Oh, this can be said. I mean, what we are looking at are clearly not best practice data visualizations when it comes to designing for clients. But as from my side, the clients I work with come from the classic Microsoft environment, and hey, we have been looking at that table for such a long time. We want to have a look at the same table in Tableau, and we want to export it and stuff. And I think there are two ways there. Either you say, okay, I don't care, you got the table. Or if you have the time, you can show the clients that, hey, in terms of UI design or UX design, this would be so much better. We should have a white space. Hey, let's explore not using 22 pie charts, but this is great if we just look at bars. And in a lot of cases, they say yes. So I think UI and UX design is a big part of designing dashboards with Tableau or any other software.
Yep. Excellent. How about you, Neil? Any comments on that question?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was looking at the next questions coming in.
That's absolutely fine.
Having a senior moment.
Do you think the lines between like art and analyst or technology data and visuals, is it blurry?
Well, absolutely it's blurry. I think what I really love was the question we spoke about much earlier is if you talk about the different background of Judith and yourself and me, we all come from different backgrounds. There are some great people with music backgrounds doing this kind of thing, people for, I think from geography, from economics, that there aren't that many people who are sort of out and out scientific analyst backgrounds. And so I think that just brings a whole different digital arts mindset and a melting pot into what we do. And that means that the lines aren't all that blurred between people doing a really great, polished, well-designed dashboard that looks amazing for business and people who like to do more creative stuff. And certainly I've always found that there are a lot of ththings that I learned to do in Tableau that I hadn't learned in more traditional sense until I was trying to do something completely off the cuff. And I thought, I'm going to have to learn a level of detail in order to get that triangle looking right, or I'm going to have to do something clever for that. So because you're using the same tool and the same skills and the same mindset to produce, whether it's a sort of very standard business data visualization or something that's considered more abstract, that's where I think the same skills, the same mindset, and that's where there's a blur or an overlap.
And I think you're both right. And I would add, if anybody's listening to this, if anybody in the audience is like, I'm an artist, I'm thinking, could I go into technology? The technology field needs people with creative backgrounds, right? Even in the deep sort of science data bits, we know about the data biases in data, difficulties in communication, difficulties in empathy. All of those things are things that are taught by liberal arts courses. And when you don't have those in technology teams, you end up with the disasters that we get see more and more reported about. So I think the boundaries are blurring more and more, and we recognize that if we do technology with technologists, we end up in a bit of a mess. So whether the lines are blurring or not, they certainly should be more than, or is the most we can, the better the outcome. All right, well, we're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes, so do put in some last questions. We're going to ask, we're going to talk a little bit about where you can go for more, but we had a quick one question from Nick Roujou. I'm sorry if I've got your surname wrong, but Nick asks, do you actively sell the data you create? And if so, what's your recommendation? Neil?
Now I have a confession to make. It was seeing Nick's question, which made me not listen to the question before.
You were thinking
Nick,
you should...
Well, no, it's because Nick is one of my absolute heroes and influences. And a lot of what I do is trying to emulate some of the amazing data art that Nick produces. So I feel like I'm not really qualified to answer that. I don't really sell what I do. I have sold some stuff by accident. Mainly, I've printed off some stuff that I like, and I've taken it to comfort way. I've done fun stuff about Muppets that I given to people with kids and stuff like that, and I like to give stuff away. I have had somebody say, look, I refuse to take that off you unless you let me pay you $50. No, I've taken it and given it to you. So when I have printed stuff off, I basically used the kind of things that you can find online, so people that can convert a photo to a poster, and I found a good deal and done that kind of thing, and so can sell it for a few pounds that way. That might not be the most professional answer, but I feel because I do it as a hobby, and I'm flattered when I find that people think, really, I would take that, I would put it on my wall, then I would go for a sort of a simple low tech solution.
From some of the comments, I think there's a market.
I'd love to know answer to that.
I think there's a market for you pieces based on some of the comments, and probably for
right.
both of
Okay,
us.
ka-ching.
What about
Right,
you? What about you, Judith? Have you commercialized this at all?
Nope, I'm doing it for myself. It wouldn't be convenient for me, but there was a client I worked with a couple of weeks ago, and they wanted to transport their monthly brochure, which was looking amazing, into Tableau, because they had to pay a creative agency to do that every month. And we managed to come up with something within Tableau that is automatized and can be exported to PDF, and it remains vectorized, and it does look like a brochure. So yeah, I think anything can be done within Tableau.
Yeah, we did gosh, in 2000, I've been at Tableau 9 years this month, and I think in 2012 we did an internal competition for make some art that we can put on the walls, and I'd like to say, I'm happy to say I won that competition, and I made this octopus I converted an image into a scatter plot of dots and turned it into an octopus, and yeah, that was I won my print on a wall in my office. Yeah, so I think the three of us, I think by having been asked that question, clearly we are not commercially minded enough. So if anybody wants to become our agent, we'll give you 3%. Does that seem fair enough? All right. So, right. I think we've only got a couple of minutes left. So let's think. If people want to find out more, what should they be doing? And I'm just going to bring up the final slide. Judith, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter as Judit Bekker, and I do have a blog which is listed there. Yeah, I think that's me.
All right, Neil, we can find you here, but do you want to just, sorry, that was really, I just, here, right? Yes.
Yes, but
so what's the Data Visualization Society?
The Data Visualization Society, bless you for spelling it with an S, but it is actually spelled with a Z, not a Z. With a Z.
I did at least get the URL right.
No, you're correct there. Yeah. Essentially, it's a group that's it's been going a year and a half. That started with 3 people and now has something like 16,000 people. So if anyone in the industry is just interested in signing up, it's it's where we get all the resources together. We put on events. We have a great Slack community. We have all sorts of things going on. We're able to sort of to bring together job resources and anything like that. We do the yearly survey and census. I could talk about all kinds of things that we do, but it's well worth checking out. You know, you lose nothing by it, and it's a great way of sort of meeting the great and the good and the ordinary of data visualization.
Yeah, absolutely, and lots of stuff.
And I would also, while you've kind of plugged that, I would plug Tableau Public there, and Judith and I and nobody here would be where we are without just trying stuff, putting it out on Tableau Public. It's such a good free resource that allows you to so, you know, so long as the data is freely available and it can be published, you can do anything and you can put anything out there. And if you've you know, happy to share it on Twitter or communities or anything like that, and you can grow and feedback. And I mean, I think these are just some of the bits of the days. Is that right? It just
that's right. Yeah, you can go.
You can put out there for free.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the 10-year anniversary of Tableau Public. It's amazing. I remember the day they went live. I wasn't working at Tableau at that time, and I was like, I'm diving in. It's absolutely incredible, and you know, it completely transformed my career as it has helped for the two of you. So we are out of time. I hope you've enjoyed that. Those who've been attending, thanks for the questions. Really, you know, really good questions. Do find myself, Neil, or Judith on the internet, and we will happily answer more questions. All right. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day or evening or night, wherever you are, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe. Bye.